What's up, folks? Hey, buddy.
Okay. I was like, why do I hear you on my headphones? It was like, oh, because your microphone was turned on. I started to panic.
Yeah, I've got to turn. I'm talking to you on Teams through the Wheatstone, so I've got to turn the mic on so you can hear me. Because if I turn it off, I don't think you can hear me.
Oh no, I can't.
Yeah, I got.
Interesting. Did they like wire something up so you could do Teams interviews?
No, I just because the microphone is also connected to Wheatstone, I can go into Teams and select if I want to talk through Wheatstone or
Oh,
through the
that's cool.
computer. So it's better. It's better to be able to use the Wheatstone because it's just a better sound, and I can hear you better too. But the only downside is I have to turn my
Have your mic
monitor.
on?
I have to have my mic on, yeah, and I got to, and I can't be in the. All right, what's going on, my friends? Now 3 o'clock. Chat here. We start with your Portland Trailblazers, who finished up the road trip at 2-1 following last night's 115-103 win over the Bucks. Jeremy Grant had a game high 35. Tomorrow night, the San Antonio Spurs are in town. Tip-off scheduled for 7. Chris Burkhardt will have game day live from Moda Center at 5. Tomorrow night's game is an NBA Cup game, and with a win, Portland will clinch Group C in the West and move on to the knockout round with quarterfinal action on either December 9th or 10th. It's also a Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. Listen to me at 5 for your chance to win tickets to an upcoming Blazers game. Each and every Tuesday is Trailblazers Ticket Tuesday here on the Rip City Drive. Oregon plays at Washington Saturday, 12:30 on CBS. The Ducks favored by 6.5. Oregon will lock up a spot in the college football playoff with a win. We have a new batch of playoff rankings released today at 4 on ESPN. The Rip City Drive is coming up next. Brian O at 3:20. Colin Amos in studio at 4:20, and Alex Brink stops by at 4. All right, I'm very happy to report that I made it through the dental appointment this morning without yelling at anybody. And I feel like that's progress for me because last week when I went in, I got into it with the hygienist. I hate the dentist, and I've had them mark my account over and over and over again. Look, I'm not down with the whole process. I don't like my teeth being cleaned. I don't like getting fillings. I don't like needles. I don't like people in my mouth. I don't like dentists putting their cold tools in my mouth. I hate the whole process. Dental pain, in my opinion, is the worst. And so the whole process gives me great anxiety. And so I've explained this and said, look, I don't like it. I hate it. In fact, it makes me very anxious. And I just let them know up front because I'm difficult to deal with. Well, the hygienist was blasting cold water into my pie hole last week. And I basically just pulled my mouth away. I was like, look, that's cold. And she told me this is not a hostage situation. So we kind of went through our battles, and she's like, even for cleanings, you can use the nitrous. And I'm like, oh, why didn't I even think about that? So I went in today. They had to fix a filling, which was done a couple of months ago because of, I don't know, air or bubbling in the composite. I have no idea. So anyways, went in, laid down on the chair at 8 a.m. They hooked me up with the nitrous, and then I did my little trick of saying, I really don't feel anything. Can you crank that up? They gave me the max level, and within a couple of minutes, I was in Euphoria Town. And I love nitrous because every single thought, and I mean every single thought that went through my dome was all positive. Euphoria. And I was happy the whole time. And so they fixed the fillings or whatever. I had some good conversation, laughed at a couple of horrendous jokes that the dentist was dropping on me. And then I stopped by to see the lady that, from last week. The hygienist, her and I kind of got into it a bit. And I said, you know what? You were right. I told her I had the nitrous today and you were spot on. It's the key to me not being an a-hole. And she just laughed at me, and that was that. The best $87 I have probably ever spent in my life. There are a few things in life that you look back on, you're like, man, that was well worth it. Like the $85 I spent on TSA pre-check. I think I pay $85 like every 5 years to renew. It's the best $85 you'll ever spend in your life. Why in H-double hockey sticks would you go to the airport and wait in that ridiculous cattle call line and take like 45 minutes or an hour to get through security when you can have pre-check for $85 over the course of 5 years and be able to get through the line in just a matter of moments? That was a good one. The $50 upgrade on Alaska, I don't know if they still do that, but the $50 first class upgrade, always genius when available. One of the best bargains on the planet. TSA pre-check. What else? The $1.50 combo at Costco is always up there with the hot dog and soda. And I don't do wieners, but for people who do, I know that that's a golden gem right there, the $1.50 combo at Costco. And you can think of a few other things. Every once in a while, I'll spend money and be like, dang, I can't believe I'm getting over on life here. What's going on? It's kind of like when I go to In-N-Out. I always feel like I'm getting a lot of bang for the buck there. And then there are certain things you buy, you're like, what's going on here? What did I get in return for this? Nothing? That's what it feels like. They're robbing me blind. So anyways, I made it through the dental appointment. And then that's the beginning of the next month where I'm just going to be getting all jacked up. I've got the appointment on the 22nd of December, right in time for Christmas, where I get to go in and they're going to remove that skin cancer from my face. And Michelangelo hopefully won't leave too much of a scar. So that's on the 22nd. And then on the 30th, I go in for the colonoscopy. Really looking forward to that. And I went through on the My Chart. Is that what they call that? That thing you log into in the My Chart, where you can see your appointments or make appointments or whatever. Not that I go to the doctor very often. It was like pulling teeth to get me to go in this time. So I went to the My Chart and they had the instructions. Just reading through the instructions on the preparation for the colonoscopy, it made my skin crawl. I started reading it, and then I was like, I'm done. This is not until next month. I'm shutting it down for a couple of weeks. It's too much. Drink this, do that, and then stay close to a bathroom. That's pretty much what I was told. So anyways, there you go. That's what's going on. Update on my brother Chris, who is currently in Georgia. His son Cole is there with him right now, as are my mom and dad. He is continuing to suffer from the cancer, which is slowly sucking the life out of him. I have scheduled a trip after talking to my dad a couple of days ago, and so I'm going to head back to Georgia next week. And I'm going to go and have an opportunity to say goodbye to my bro. And I was talking to my dad, and the whole process of preparing for one of your children to pass, it's unnatural. The whole situation, completely unnatural. It's not proper, and everything about it sucks because my dad is having to talk to my brother about his items. What do you want to do with this? What do you want to do with the home? What about your truck? All these different items, right? And make preparations for that. So that process is brutal. And the nurse came by and she said that she doesn't think it's going to be much longer than a couple of weeks. He's having to have fluid or something taken out of his lungs. And when they do that, he feels better. But, the process is, it's brutal. So I'm going to go next week and get a chance to say goodbye. And so I was thinking about that this morning. And I was trying to go back, through the mind, my mind, and just think about some of the memories and different things that he and I did when we were younger. What do you say to someone that is going to pass? And what is the right thing to say? What do you try to communicate with them? I've never been in that type of situation except with my Nana, but I was much closer with her. And so I was with her literally the day before, she slipped into, I don't know what it was, but she passed away shortly after I was there to visit her in Oklahoma. But I was able to be with her and communicate with her. And so she knew how much I loved her. And her and I were really close. But what do you say? So I don't know the answer to that. So that's what I'm going to spend, the next couple of days thinking about what I want to communicate to my brother. And, part of me doesn't want to go because I don't want to see him in the condition that he's under right now. He continues to drop weight and he's, really thin right now. So my dad was trying to prepare me. He's like, just so you know, he does not look like the same person that you remember. So you got to prepare yourself for that because it's pretty shocking. And I think it was pretty shocking for his son Cole too, because he knew, that his dad was sick, but he didn't know. You don't know sometimes until you see it. So that's the process and what's going on with my bro. I will take off next week. I'm going to take the red eye in. I'm flying into Chattanooga, Tennessee. I've never been there before, but it was closer to flying to Chattanooga than Atlanta. And I've been to Atlanta before, and I think most of us know isn't it like the busiest airport in the world? I know it's the busiest airport in the country, but it's chaos there. And the traffic and the surrounding areas, I didn't want to deal with that. So I'm flying into Chattanooga, and I will drive down from there. It's like a little over an hour. So drive down, I'll be there for a few days and then come back. But that's what's going on right now. So that's the situation with my bro. I will be heading out next week to see him. You can reach out. We have the text line, Rip City Radio text line at 88528. Here's what's coming up on the show. We have so many things going on today that I'm not even sure I can remember it all. Bino, Brian No, Fox Sports Radio. Bino, he's coming up here in about 10 minutes. We'll get his full breakdown and the experience down in Houston. He was there for that Thursday night football game last week with the Bills and the Texans, where the Houston defensive front dismantled the Bills' offense and sacked Josh Allen 8 times. Bino was also on the field before the game holding the flag. So we'll get his report on that, and we'll break down a lot of the games this weekend, including some of these tasty, tasty matchups on Thanksgiving. So Bino coming up at 3:20. And then at 4 o'clock, Alex Brink, former Coug, E4 Sports, our college football and NFL insider, will join us. I want to talk to him about some of the different games, get his take on Oregon-Washington. I want to know what the difference is for a quarterback dropping back out of shotgun compared to under center. Alex Brink at 4 o'clock. At 4:20, Colin Amos is going to join us in studio to answer your divorce questions. At 5 o'clock, the principal, Curtis Long, is going to stop by, one of my good friends and partners in the Trailblazers Audio Network. He got to fill in for Don Essig last week. Essig has been doing Oregon games, the PA announcer, for over 50 years. He's a local legend, as you all know, and he was having some health issues, so Curtis got to fulfill a dream and fill in for him on the mic. So we'll find out about that experience at 5 with Curtis Long. And then at 5:20, we're going to make a trip to the Mile High City, Denver, and talk with Ryan Edwards, my buddy from 850 KOA, to get his take on the Broncos. They've got a game coming up against Washington from D.C. on Sunday Night Football. The Broncos are 9-2, and if they win, because they played one less game than the Patriots, with a win, the Broncos will move right back into the number one hole in the AFC. And their schedule shapes up pretty good down the stretch, and a great opportunity for Denver to lock up the 1 seed. We'll get the latest on the Broncos with Brian Edwards at 5:20. Also at 5, before we get to the Principal Curtis Long, Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. Your chance to win tickets to an upcoming Trailblazer game. In fact, the tickets I'm going to give you or give away to you will be for the game tomorrow night. The San Antonio Spurs are going to be in town. And here's the amazing part about this. The Portland Trailblazers, if they win the game tomorrow against San Antonio, will clinch Group C in the NBA Cup, which is the most difficult grouping in the entire NBA. And they would move on to the knockout round for quarterfinal action, which would be on December 9th or 10th. So that's pretty cool. They've never advanced into the knockout round. And if they win tomorrow against the Spurs, they'll have a chance to do that. I will give you a chance to see that game with your own eyes coming up at 5 o'clock. If you want to reach out to me, 503-248-0620, 503-248-0620. That is the telephone number. You can also hit me up on the Rip City Radio text line, 88528, 88528. Mike Oakes is with me today. And other than that, just chilling, man, enjoying this week. My daughter's got the entire week off. I only used to get Thursday and Friday off of Thanksgiving, and I'm looking forward to the ball this weekend, and it's going to be awesome. And I'm heading down for the Territorial Cup game on Friday. So I'll be down there to check it out with two teams at 8-3 and vying for Big 12 supremacy. Right now, BYU and T-Tech have the inside track in the Big 12 title game, but there are teams who are still lurking. And once again, college football delivering in the second year of the expanded playoff with more games that matter, more fan bases with interest, and it keeps us all watching, which is great. All right, reach me out. Hit me up on the Rip City Radio text line, 88528, 88528. We'll come back, and then Bino, Fox Sports Radio, going to join me. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday at 5. I appreciate your time. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, this is one of my favorite times of the week is when I get a chance to talk to my brother from another mother. He is from Fox Sports Radio. Make sure you check him out every Saturday and Sunday morning on Countdown to Kickoff on Fox Sports Radio here on Rip City Radio 620. He just got back from his trip to Houston for a little Thursday night football action. He was on the field before the game. I saw a picture. He was not supposed to take a picture, but he did, and he's with us right now. It's Bino, Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Brian? No?
What is going on, Chad? Doing? That is right. They specifically said no pictures. Don't think about it. No cameras. Don't even think about it. And then as soon as I was there, I was like, yeah, this is happening. Come on now. What are we doing?
Yeah, there are certain times in life where it's like you look at the sign, you know the rules, and you're like, yeah, I'm just going to totally disregard that one. I'm sorry about that. Just like when I go to a concert or a show and they're like, no filming. It's like, yeah, I think I'm going to film pretty much the entire show. No offense, of course, right? You got to do what you got to do.
I love their sales pitch, too. They were like, one guy tried to use his camera and dropped it and never saw it again. I'm like, wow, it must have gotten swallowed by the field there, no way to get this back. And the other thing they said that I thought this was really funny, they were like, you don't have to worry about taking pictures or videos. We are going to document this whole evening. We'll send you plenty of pictures. They haven't sent anything, not one thing. So, yeah.
No, it was great, man. But how was that experience? So, holding the flag is a big honor, but especially Thursday night football in a building with a lot of energy. It turned out to be a great game. But how was the whole experience from going there, getting a chance to check out a new crib, holding the flag, the game itself? You probably had a great time, I would imagine.
Oh, it was awesome. It really was. It was one of my favorite times at an NFL game. I just have to go to the Jag Stadium. Like Jacksonville's the last one. Technically, I have to go to the Chargers Stadium, too. I haven't seen them at SoFi. I've seen the Rams there, and I've seen the Chargers in San Diego, but not SoFi. But that's it, man. But going to Houston, it was unbelievable, man. I didn't know you could buy these tickets just like normal tickets. I had no idea. I just stumbled across it, and I was like, wow, that sounds way more interesting. So, yeah, I just went for it, and I encourage anybody, if you see a ticket like that where you can just hold the flag on the field before the game, it is absolutely worth it. It's very, very cool, and not that much of a price jump from a normal ticket at all.
That's terrific. Brian O, Fox Sports Radio with us. I appreciate the audio you sent me from Brandon Bean. I watched that game, and it's just a firm reminder that home dogs with an elite defense are never a bad idea. But Josh Allen got completely torn apart, 8 sacks, and the Houston defense rose up. And props to Davis Mills for just doing what he needed to do to guide that offense, and they got the win. But I'll say this about the Bills. It's been an issue now for a few years. I love Josh Allen. The guy's awesome, and he can do so many different things on the field, but they have yet to really build an offense to where he doesn't feel like he has to do everything out there by himself. And I felt like once again on Thursday night, he was out there holding onto the football, trying to do whatever he could to help his team win the game. And the problem is they just don't have that balance. They got a guy who can run, but they don't run it enough. And I feel bad for him because they have yet to find that balance and master that. And once again, they're looking up the standings in the AFC, and it's going to be a problem for them.
Yeah, it's funny. Like the Brandon Bean audio that you're talking about, it's the Bills GM. This was in the offseason. This was before this season began. And a couple of Buffalo radio hosts, they were, I guess they were saying, like, what are we doing at wide receiver? Like, what do we have here? Brandon Bean's on hold, and Brandon Bean was not happy at all. And he's like, we're scoring points left and right, so we address the defense and the draft. And spare me your tears, basically, is what he's saying. And then you fast forward to the here and now, and, well, what do you know, Chad? They don't have wide receivers that strike a whole lot of fear into NFL secondaries here. So, yeah, it's one of those deals where you look at Buffalo and you do see their limitations. You see their strengths. You see their weaknesses. And if there's a game where they're not able to run it very effectively, and all of a sudden you're left with Josh Allen trying to make YOLO plays with some B receivers, that's not the greatest setup ever. And you saw that against Houston. That's a really, really good Houston defense. Not every defense is that talented and that good. But, man, you do see the limitations on that Bills offense with the wide receivers just not being star-studded at all.
Yeah, no question about it. You know what's weird about the AFC? I look at the 3 teams we all thought were going to be the best, Chiefs, Ravens, and Bills. And for one season this year, I don't think any one of those three are going to be in the Super Bowl. I would look at Denver. I would look at the Patriots. I would look at the Colts or even the Chargers before I'd go with one of those three, because I looked at those three after that game on Thursday and through the weekend. The Bills, they're too reliant upon Josh Allen, and they can't stop the run. The Ravens have been decimated by injuries. Their defense is not what it used to be, and I don't care what they're saying or what John Harbaugh says. There's something not right physically with Lamar Jackson because he doesn't look the same. And then with the Chiefs, like, I agree. Look, Patrick Mahomes is the best guy on the planet, no question about it, but they have offensive line issues, too many penalties this year. The defense looks a little bit slower than it has in the past, and they can't run the football. Like, each one of those three have got glaring weaknesses that are going to create issues for them as they continue on. It's weird to see because those three going in, we thought, without question, the three best teams in the conference.
I know, it's so weird, and you're right about Lamar. Like,
something's not right, no?
Yeah, it's not right. Listen to a stat line against the Jets, right? The sad, sorry, pathetic Jets. 13 for 23 for $153. Those are his passing numbers. No touchdowns, no picks. His rushing numbers, this is Lamar Jackson. This isn't, I don't know who it would be, like Geno Smith. If this is Geno's stat line, you'd be like, I get it. This is Lamar Jackson, 7 rushes for 11 yards against the Jets. Like, he's clearly not healthy, and that's the thing, man, is he going to be healthy down the stretch? Is he going to be healthy come playoff time? Because, man, these Ravens come playoff time, they've wet themselves, as fully healthy, with a fully healthy Lamar. So I don't know what they're going to do with a guy who's nicked up, like noticeably banged up.
In the NFC, like, the Rams look like the one team that doesn't appear to have too many issues and too many weaknesses. But look at all these other teams, like the Eagles. I don't doubt that their roster's still probably the best in the NFL, but whatever's going on with the offense, whether it's the best friend that Sirianni hired to be the offensive coordinator, or the fact that maybe A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts hate each other, their offense is a miss. And they went, think about this, they didn't score. How did they go scoreless the rest of the game after being up 21-0 on Dallas?
I don't know, man. It's crazy.
How does that
right?
happen?
There's no explanation for it. And you think about some of the teams that the Cowboys have lost to. How do you explain, like, the Cowboys losing to a couple of hack teams, and yet they come back from down 3 touchdowns against the defending champs? It's like, welcome to the NFL. But, yeah, man, this Eagles offense leaves so much to be desired. They're a little bit banged up. No Lane Johnson. That hurts them a lot. Weren't able to run the ball at all. That's so weird to see a Philly team that just can't physically impose their will on their opponent, and they just couldn't do that. Like, Saquon Barkley was a complete non-factor, and man, even against a defense like the Dallas Cowboys, after those first 3 touchdowns, it was nothing. They did nothing in the second half, and they only had to do like this much. You can't see it, but like the index finger is like a milli-inch away from the thumb, like this much, and they would have won the game. They couldn't even do that.
Yeah, and what was weird, Brian, 2 things that jumped out at me. One, the Eagles didn't even really try to run the football, which is a cardinal sin in that spot when you're up by 3 touchdowns. But also, Dallas was the more physical football team on both sides of the ball. If you would have told me going into the game that Dallas would out-physical Philadelphia, I would have told you that you were on drugs and required testing. But they did. Dallas was the more physical team.
Yeah, they really were. And that's the thing. They've gotten a couple of dudes. Like, Quinnen Williams is a dude.
Yes.
So that's a big trade for them. I think they're out of their minds to make that trade. It's not like, they're in a Super Bowl window right now. That's the type of move you make if you're literally in a Super Bowl window. But nevertheless, that's a guy, right? Like, Quinnen Williams is a dude. And
he's clearly helping them. Yeah, he's clearly helping.
No
obviously.
doubt. They've gotten a couple of guys healthy, and all of a sudden you make a couple of trades, you get a little healthier, and it's like, whoa, wow, that looked a lot better. Now, against the Chiefs offense, their offense is way better than what the Eagles have right now. The Chiefs are way more consistent, so this is another big test in just a couple of days on Thanksgiving. Yeah, no question about it. Oh, by the way, CeeDee Lamb, I'm glad that he can hold his liquor, and I'm glad he made sure we all knew that. That was awesome. But, dude, 11 targets, 4 catches. Like, what the hell was going on with that guy? It's like, do you understand? For the gamblers out there, I was thinking about Bino out there if he had money on the Cowboys. It's like, CeeDee, you gotta step up, brother. I know it, man. Like, and that goes back to the first game of the year. They probably would have beaten the Eagles.
He's the guy that dropped that pass.
That's right. He dropped a couple of them. And for a receiver as talented as CeeDee Lamb, there's just no excuse for it, man. It's just a lack of concentration. He's too good to
Yes.
do that, man. Just got to lock in. He'll be fine.
I do want to give some credit to Jerry Jones. I'm a big fan of his because I think he's cool, and I'd love to hang out with him sometime on his yacht, but that's neither here nor there. Pickens has turned out to be a home run. He's been unbelievable. He was great in that Philly game. The defense with Quentin Williams is better. So, and we'll see what he does with those draft picks. But, the team, with Schottenheimer's coach and stuff, they're performing and doing things, I think, more so than what most people thought. So a little bit of credit to Jerry because he's got to feel pretty good with what he's seeing from the guys he's brought in, particularly Pickens, who is trying to earn himself a new deal right now.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, right? Where on one hand, I want to give him credit for all the things that you just said. And on the other hand, I'm like, but why are you an idiot when it came to Micah Parsons? You should have just extended Micah and gone down that route, and everything would be, I think, better than it is right now. But
well, no, you better call him and tell him to sign Pickens right now because he'll wait and end up paying Pickens twice as much as he should.
That's right. It'll be this whole obnoxious, unnecessary, drawn-out, drama-laden thing. And we're going to be like, Jerry, why? And then whatever, he'll sign him or he'll make some other move. And you're like, I mean, that move is pretty good. I can't talk trash totally about it. But it's like, dude, just extend this guy in the first place and let's move on with our lives.
Okay. We got to talk about these games on Thursday. Now, the interesting part is that the favorites on Thanksgiving Day tend to do extremely well. The first game of the day is Green Bay playing at Detroit. Now, neither team is exactly lighting up fireworks on offense right now. The Lions have suffered through a number of injuries. They survived the New York Giants. I kind of like the Lions in this spot with revenge from what happened in week number 1. What do you think about the Lions laying 2.5 at home against the Pack?
I'm with you. I like the Lions in this spot. I'm surprised that they looked as vulnerable as they did really against the Giants. Yeah, but
they got burned for 2 touchdowns on 2 trick plays. Unbelievable.
You know what's crazy, though, Chad? You tell me if this is a little bit nuts or not. Do you have faith that Jordan Love and this Packers offense, minus Josh Jacobs, are you confident they can do to the Lions what Jameis and the Giants just did?
No.
Because I'm not, right?
No.
I'm not confident they can do that.
No, I'm not. And, it's weird. The Packers are one of those teams like the Eagles or any of these other teams we discussed where they're just something it's not right. It's off. And I don't know what it is. I keep waiting for Jordan Love to explode. But the reality is ever since the opener against Detroit in week 1, they haven't been firing on all cylinders. They haven't found it yet. Either the offense is a miss or their defense isn't getting the job done like we saw in the Cowboy game. They lost a game at Cleveland, which is brutal. They just haven't been great. And so, no, I have no confidence in the dome on that track that he can compete with that Detroit offense. I don't.
Yeah, they're a weird team because I think more times than not, and the schedule proves this to be true, is they play down to the level of their competition.
It's true.
They're capable of cranking it up and playing well. But, I mean, really, outside of the first couple of weeks, what do you have? You've got a really good second half on the road against the Steelers on Sunday Night Football, and it's like, okay, that's about all you're really bringing to the table in terms of a quality opponent. We're not talking about surviving against the Arizona Cardinals or, any of those things. They really haven't been impressive, but they have enough going for them. Let's say in this particular matchup against the Lions, we know Jared Goff is a fish out of freaking water when it comes to facing pressure. And you got this guy named Micah Parsons who is pinning his ears back and putting a lot of pressure, potentially, on Jared Goff. That is not a good scenario for Detroit. So how well Jared Goff can handle pressure, that's a big deal in this game. I think they have enough, and I think they'll be smart enough not to let those guys just tee off on them. So I like the Lions in the spot. I think this is a little bit of vengeance coming their way. And, man, these teams, think if the Lions didn't survive that game against the Giants, where they would be at in the playoff picture. That was a big, big win for them. They were lucky to win it. And I think that helps them focus in a little bit more going forward. You got to get – sometimes it's like basketball, right? You got to see one go in. You got to make a layup. You got to get to the free throw line. Then maybe you can find your rhythm. There's no doubt Jahmyr Gibbs is in rhythm. I know that much. That guy is sensational. Wow.
Oh, by the way, how about, who was it, Trayvon Morwig last night just punching Jawan Jennings right in the crank?
I know it. And you know what's funny is the league's response. Because go back to, what was it, Juju Gate? Remember when Brian Branch of the Lions just went up and started a brawl with Juju? He got suspended for a game. The league didn't say anything about Juwan Jennings doing basically the same thing. He went up to that player and just smacked him in the face. And the league is like, well, you got punched in the junk, so we'll kind of look the other way on that. I love that the NFL only punished the junk violator instead of Juwan Jennings. That is great.
Yeah, the only thing I hate about it was I was watching SportsCenter and some other commentators. They're like, oh, yeah, he got hit in the groin. I'm like, no. No, that was a direct hit right on the head. It's like I've never seen a punch so egregious in my life. Like, I love Shanahan after the game because he's like, oh, yeah, that play. Yeah, he got punched in the balls. I was proud of his restraint in the moment. I thought that was pretty funny because it kind of reminded me of that audio we were listening to of Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin last week where he's like, oh, for someone that gets spit on, do what comes natural. Like, it's the same thing. If someone punches you right in the crank, do what comes natural. If you got to fight, you got to fight. Do whatever it takes.
Man, that's just, I don't know. I mean, like, as a guy, I mean, you know, like, that's a last resort. You know what I mean? Like, it's curtains for you unless you just got to punch him in the junk. You know, that's your only way. That's not what that was last night. I don't get how one man can do that to another man. No matter what was said, no matter what led up to that, to do that is just like, wow, man.
Yeah.
On a football field, that cannot be.
What is more disrespectful, someone spitting on you or punching you right in the crank?
It's got to be the latter.
I agree.
It's got to be.
I'd rather be spit on. You want to spit on me, fine, but just don't, hey, can you please not give me the right hook to the crank? That's all I ask.
Because here's the thing, man. Like, we're not saying it's cool. Like, yeah, go ahead. Just, like, hawk one on me. It's all
I'm
good.
saying if I had to choose a penalty, one or the other, I'll take that instead of that.
Right, because, listen, it's demeaning. It's completely disrespectful to get spat on, which always sounds weird to me. I don't like spat.
I don't like that word.
Spit, but whatever.
No.
That's completely disrespectful, demeaning, the whole thing. But there isn't the same, like, physical pain. Like, someone spits on you, you're like, your left cheek, like, like, it doesn't start burning or something. You just got spat on. That's you get punched in the junk.
You're down for the count. The pain, it starts low, and then it rises up into your tummy, and you're done. And that was a direct hit. That was like, you sank my battleship type of shot right there. I was like, you kidding me?
Just any little thing. Like, I remember, like, taking an accidental cleat to the man zone, and you're just down. You're you're like, like the stomach ache. It's brutal.
No, I think it was, I was covering the game a couple of nights ago at Moda Center, and young Hansen, the Blazer rookie, was in the game, and, you know, Travis was doing the play-by-play, and, of course, I got the headset on, and Hansen was, like, bent over as he was going down the floor, like, writhing in pain. And Travis was like, I think he got hit in the arm. I'm like, no, I saw the play. It was a direct hit to the junk. And he waved off the bench like, I'm going to be okay. Just give me a moment, you know?
Yeah. The universal sign of, just give me a minute here, man.
Everyone knows.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny? I don't know why this is, but when I was younger, and you know this as guys, like, you don't want to get hit in the nether regions, but when it happens to somebody else, we'd all be laughing our asses off because it was funny.
You know what's funny, too, is the commentating has evolved.
Yes.
Because, like, when we were kids, these announcers would be so uptight, and they'd be like, looks like you got hit in a sensitive area, right? Now they just kind of crack jokes, you know? Now they're just kind of like, oh, man, his voice just went up an octave right there. It's just funnier how they handle it now.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I feel... I watch football all the time like you do, and that was a punch where I'm like, I haven't quite seen something like that.
That was just so blatant, and he tried to play it off. I don't know. I would love to hear, like, what led to that, dude. What did he say? He had the worst yo mama joke of all time. Like, what was it that was crazy.
Oh, my goodness. Bino, Fox Sports Radio, is with me right now. Well, as you know, it's that time of the show where you and I have to honor the clock because we care about clock integrity more than anybody else in the business. So I would love to keep you for another segment if you're game, brother.
Absolutely game.
Yeah!
And you know me. We are true believers in clock integrity.
All right. I just got a text message from my good buddy David. He said, my daughter Elena and I are in the car. We're belly laughing at the junk talk. There you go.
That's right. Hey, we break it down.
Yeah, it's because David didn't get punched like Juwan Jennings, so he can laugh about it like we can.
I mean, there's X's and O's, and then there's junk breakdown. You know what I mean? Like,
Do you think that'd be a good way to solve
hand.
matters at work? Be like, Brian, what are you doing? Bam, right in the junk.
I'll tell you what, there'd be a lot of good behavior if that were the case. Man.
All right, Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio with me. We'll come back, and we got more ball to talk here on the Rip City Drive. All right, the great Brian Noel, Fox Sports Radio, is with me. You can listen to him. Love countdown to kickoff before the games on Saturday and Sunday. Bino. All right, Brian, this next game on Thanksgiving, the Chiefs are in Dallas to meet the Cowboys, and it opened up, I think, at around 4.5. It's down to 3 now. You know, I would have been tempted maybe to think Cowboys were the play, but I'm looking at this now, like, give me the better quarterback, the better team, and the better defense. I kind of like the Chiefs -3. What's your take here on this one?
Totally agree. How about that? Gambling Chad and gambling no. 2 for 2 on
Wow.
the same wavelengths over here. But, one of the things that I really like in an NFL season, Chad, is like phony wins and phony losses. That's a big thing. And you have to ask yourself, were the Cowboys, was that sort of like a mirage win? Like they're down by 3 touchdowns against the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles. You think that's going to continue, or do you think that was a little bit of a flash in the pan? I think that was a mirage. I don't think that's what they're going to be going forward. And you'll see this commonly. Like a good example would be, look at the Saints 2 weeks ago, or 2 games ago. I think they were coming off a bye, but they went to Carolina, and all of a sudden Tyler Shuck threw for all this yardage. They had a big upset win. They won 17-7. And you're like, wow, okay, now at home facing Kirk Cousins, no Drake London. Yeah, they sucked. They couldn't do anything. You know what I mean? So a lot of times you get these misleading results that are not going to remain constant, and that's exactly what I expect from the Cowboys. I think that was a completely misleading win. I take nothing away from the win, but you just can't expect them to be that quality of a team going forward. Philly's offense is jacked up. The Chiefs' offense is not. I'm all about the Chiefs getting a little bit more value as the line goes toward the Cowboys. Yeah, give me -3 in the Chiefs all day.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And you're right. There are some games where you're like, wait a second, what happened here? Now, we were right about the Colts-Chiefs games last week. Remember, we said normally this would be an auto bet with the Chiefs, but we thought that line at 3.5 was a bit inflated, and they were very fortunate to be able to come back and win that game. But I was looking at some of these games. It's so amazing how one particular decision or play can determine the outcome. And if you remember, right before the end of the first half, the Colts had, I think it was a 3rd down and 1, and they elect to throw it instead of run the football with the best running back in the NFL. They could have got the first down and been able to run the clock down, so either they score or the half ends. Well, they throw it incomplete. Chiefs get the ball back. They nearly go all the way down the field and get a touchdown. They settle for the field goal, but that 3-point swing there turned out to be big.
Oh, it's a huge deal. It absolutely is. And, man, the Colts, that's the thing is they found a way to lose the game against the Rams. Remember earlier in the season? They had a great chance to win that game. And the next thing you know, I think there was a big turnover. Oh, it was A.D. Mitchell. Remember, he dropped the ball before going into the end zone. There was a big holding penalty on that same player, wiped out a Jonathan Taylor touchdown. And then Tutu Atwell caught like a 70 or 80-yard touchdown pass. It was insane. So this has happened before for the Colts, like just screwing it up for themselves. And that's what teams that aren't ready for prime time do.
Yeah.
But like that's the deal is you look at the Cowboys, and I'm telling you, Chad, the phony wins, phony losses thing is a big, big thing. I think you could apply that last night. You know, there are many examples of this, but look at the Carolina Panthers, right? So you think a couple of weeks back, they get upset at home against the Saints.
Ugh.
And then the next week, Bryce Young throws for 448 yards against the Falcons, and they win in overtime. And you're like, okay, so is this who the Panthers are? It's just a speed bump against the Saints, and now the offense looks a lot better. No, look last night. Can't move the ball at all. Bryce Young, terrible. Doesn't even throw for 200 yards. So I think like that Falcons game was misleading for the Panthers. And I think that Cowboys win last week is misleading for Dallas. I think Dak is this year's version of Joe Burrow. He's putting up huge numbers, and his defense isn't good enough, and they're just going to be an average team. And this isn't a spot that average teams come through in. Thanksgiving, you got Mahomes and the Chiefs coming to town. This is a spot that they lay an egg, and that's what I'm betting on them doing.
All right, so explain to me, the Ravens, I think, are like a 7-point favorite right now over the Bengals on that night game on Thanksgiving. And we know that Lamar's not 100%. We know that Joe Burrow is more than likely going to play in this game. And yet the line is still sitting there at, 7. It seems a bit high, But I feel like they're almost wanting me to jump on the Bengals there. So it's very bizarre to see the line being that number when we know that Burrow's more than likely to play. What's your take on that?
I know, man. That's a tough one, isn't it? Like every now and then, well, a lot of now and thens during an NFL week, there are just stay away from games. You know?
It's like it stinks to high heaven. Something here.
Like there are 16 games, it's a full week in week 13. That doesn't mean if you're betting on these games, you want to have 16 sides. Like you want to pick and choose. Have a couple, but don't go crazy. Don't overly indulge. And I like the Ravens are a goofy team because they're good enough to cover the 7, certainly against an atrocious Bengals defense. But Lamar's not healthy. And they're just kind of playing with their food against the Jets. It's like, where's the offense? What's going on over here? These are the Jets, So I can't trust the Ravens either way to cover the 7 or the Bengals plus 7. I just stay away from that one altogether.
Well, Bino, Thanksgiving. What are your plans for Thanksgiving, brother?
I'll be doing some fill-in stuff.
Yeah,
I'll do some
win,
radio in the morning.
win.
Yeah, 2 pros, so it'll be the morning show on Fox.
Sweet.
Yeah, so I'll do that, and I'll be on there on Friday also. So I got a little,
dude.
Yeah, I got a little, side money going on here. We can bet on the electronic ponies, try to double it, No, but I'll be doing that, and then just, maybe meeting up with some friends, possibly. I don't know what's going on here in Vegas. We'll see.
Well, dude, you're the man. Hey, enjoy your Thanksgiving. I love talking ball with you. Enjoy the games, and enjoy your time on 2 Pros and a Cup of Joe. So now I know what my Thanksgiving is going to look like. Get up in the morning, listen to Bino. Watch football, enjoy some good food, and watch more football. That's a great day.
Hey, man, that sounds good to me. Always good talking ball with you, Chad. Actually, we talked not only ball, we talked balls today.
Hey, just remember that if you get angry at someone, the proper resolution is not to punch them directly into the crank.
There's always a better way than that. Don't do that. Absolutely.
Well, dude, hey, man, I appreciate you, buddy. Enjoy the week, and I'll catch up with you in a few days.
All right, man. Have a great night. Chad Doing. See you, buddy.
All right. Brian No, Fox Sports Radio. We'll come back, and when we do, Alex Brink, our college football and NFL insider, are going to join me to talk more ball here in the Rip City Drive. All right, what's going on, my friends? Now 4 o'clock. Your Trailblazers back home after a 2-1 road trip. They got the win last night in Milwaukee. Jeremy Grant had a game-high 35. The Spurs are in town tomorrow night. Tip-off from Moda at 7. Chris Burkhart will be live with Blazers Game Day from Moda at 5. Tomorrow night's game is an NBA Cup game. And check this, with a win, Portland will clinch Group C in the West and move on to the knockout round with quarterfinal action on either December 9th or 10th. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday here on the Rip City Drive. Coming up at 5, you'll have a chance to win tickets to that game tomorrow. And don't forget, each and every Tuesday throughout the entire season, we give away tickets to every home game on the Rip City Drive. Oregon will be at Washington Saturday, 12:30 on CBS. The Ducks are a 6.5-point favorite. Oregon will lock up a spot in the college football playoff with a win. The new batch of playoff rankings being released in a couple of moments on ESPN. Colin Amos coming in studio next, and then we'll go to Denver and talk with Ryan Edwards on the Broncos at 5:20. All right, joining me now, our college football and NFL insider, former Washington State Cougar, and now with E4 Sports, Alex Brink is back. Hey, Brink, happy Thanksgiving, my friend.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, Chad, and everybody listening. Hope everybody has a great weekend.
I appreciate that. It's always great to talk ball with you, buddy. I want to ask you about Lane Kiffin. This is becoming a bit of a distraction from the standpoint that, you know, he might be back at Ole Miss. A lot of people think he's going to wind up at Florida or LSU. But my question would be this. They're likely going to be a playoff team. If you knew, and you're the AD, that Kiffin was going to go elsewhere, would you let him coach that team in the playoff?
Well, there's some layers to that nowadays, right? Because, you know, anytime a coach leaves, he's apt to take his best players with him potentially. So, you know, if you let Lane Kiffin continue to coach, if that's the case, then obviously, you know, maybe irregardless, people, you know, athletes follow him. But I could see the case for not having him coach. But at the same time, you know, for Ole Miss, you probably want your best chance to win that thing if you're in the playoff, which would be having Lane Kiffin continue to coach. And so, yeah, I think in that regard, that's probably more valuable in the end. I think just kind of the whole circus that is coach movement, you know, in college football is, you know, I'll say it again, and we've said it before here, is that, you know, the model that college football wants to get to already exists, right? It's the NFL, and it has free agent windows, and it has coaching change windows and all the things. And I think that just needs to be implemented, and it would make all this a heck of a lot easier.
No question about it. I want to ask you about Oklahoma. You know, I was watching them this weekend. They had that defensive struggle against Missouri, but what jumped out at me is this. One, people thought Oklahoma was crazy when they made the jump to the SEC because of the competition, and how would they ever be able to compete to get to the playoff in that type of conference? But here's what really blows me away. Look at that game on Saturday and look at them throughout the season. They have taken on the identity of their coach, Brent Venables, who is a defensive-minded coach. And if you look at them and their style now, Alex, they don't even look like remotely close to a Big 12 team. They're led by their defense. It's really bizarre, but a great transformation for Coach Venables. What are your thoughts on what he's done?
Well, I think very big picture, if you look across the country, the majority of teams that are successful at the highest levels are, you know, the teams that are led by defensive-minded head coaches, right? Whether it's, you know, Dan Lanning at Oregon, Venables at Oklahoma, Kirby Smart at Georgia. You know, you can kind of go down the list, and it feels like, there is a blueprint there. You know, you see that just a stifling defense for the Sooners has kind of led that resurgence, and then you match it with a high-powered offense, right, or an offense that's certainly above average. You know, in a coordinator and quarterback combination, you know, that works, right? And I think the age of kind of leaning into maybe an offensive-minded head coach at the collegiate level is not as strong as, like, say, the NFL correlation is right now.
Hey, Alex, USC and Oregon this weekend. it was a very, very fun game to watch. But my big takeaway with USC is that the Oregon game earlier this year against Illinois, the Notre Dame game, and basically any big game they've been in over the last few years with Lincoln Riley, the skill position players are no problem, but they continue to get what it would appear, at least through my eyes, that they're getting beat at the point of attack. And Oregon, when push came to shove in that game, was able to run the football down their throats. What was your takeaway from watching that one?
Well, I was probably kind of cheating a little bit in that I was qualifying what I'm about to say on my previous answer, right? Is that I think Lincoln Riley, his mindset as an offensive play caller and an offensive coach and an offensive-minded head coach, right, kind of lends to the team being constructed a certain way. And what you're saying is 100% correct, right? They can't compete physically with some of the high-level teams out there because that's not the focus. That's not what they're trying to recruit to. And it's not the brand they've built. You think about some of these other teams, the brand they built, whether it's Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame, obviously Dan Lanning at Oregon, they're trying to be physical. They want to run the football on offense. They want to have balance. They want to play hard-nosed defense, and they recruit in the trenches, very specifically to a certain type of athlete. And so, it shows up on the field. And if you go back to, right, a lot of people are thinking, well, how does SC get back to the SC of old? Well, when I was playing USC, and it was Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, and Wendell White, and some of these great offenses, first of all, they were pro-style offense, right? They were primarily under center, ran the football, they were balanced. And then on defense, when they were led by Monty Kiffin, that was a team that prided themselves in their front seven and the defensive line and linebackers, Kenechi Udezi, right? Matt Grudegood and Lofa Tutupu. And I mean, these names are household names, that went into the NFL defensively. And so, again, I think the USC of old, although high-powered offensively, was not what it is today. And I think that shows up in the product on the field.
We're talking with Alex Brink, former Coug, our college football and NFL insider. So this weekend, Oregon's going to go up to Washington. They're only a 6.5-point favorite. I feel like Vegas is begging people to jump on the Ducks there. Are they going to steamroll the Huskies? How do you see that one shaking out? You've seen both teams.
Yeah, I think the best version of the Washington Huskies can hang around with Oregon. I don't know that they can beat them toe to toe without Oregon making some mistakes. But Oregon has had their moments, this year where they have not looked fantastic, right? Especially on the road, right? Out at Northwestern, there were some struggles at times. Felt like kind of early in that Penn State game. At times also. So, I think there's a challenge with going on the road. Autzen Stadium is such an advantage that sometimes when you leave that place, you're not really ready for it. The Husky fans, right, they're going to come. This is a rivalry game, and it is going to be packed, and it's going to be loud, and I can see some real challenges there. I think the so-called Vegas, odds here are kind of playing to the fact that Washington's going to really get up for this game. It's going to be, there's going to be a rowdy crowd, and I think they're interested to see, how Oregon kind of handles that.
Alex, you and I are both big fans of Sam Leavitt, who is at Arizona State. He had a foot injury, so he got shut down for the remainder of the year. He's going to come back to college for another year. His draft stock has taken a bit of a hit, so he's going to come back. It could be at ASU. He may look to transfer. Obviously, there could be better financial opportunities out there in the open market based on what teams may have interest, whether it's possibly Texas Tech or Miami. But football-wise, do you think it would be best for him to go elsewhere? Do you like what Kenny Dillingham has done with him? What are your thoughts on that?
I certainly like what Kenny Dillingham and Marcus Arroyo, the offensive coordinator, have done with him. And obviously they gave him an opportunity at Arizona State. And, they were a playoff contender last year. And, I think this year, obviously a lot of roster turnover. And so they're a little bit of a rebuild. And I think a lot of it has to do anytime, probably for a quarterback and high-level quarterbacks these days, is it's kind of about what's going to be around you as much as it is about the money, right? Because you want to go have success. And, I think, Sam, again, with Sam, speaking to Sam, right, he's got aspirations of playing in the NFL. So he's got to have the best team around him. And even at a place like Arizona State, that can be challenging. I think about, say John Mateer, when he was at Washington State. Yes, he got a lot of money to go play at Oklahoma, but, he went to Oklahoma and he's got, the best defense in the country. He's got one of the best running backs in the country that transferred in. He's got all these guys. You're right. He's got all these pieces because he's playing at Oklahoma. And so, there is potentially an opportunity for that to happen, say for Sam at another place. Now, Arizona State has some resources. They could go out and put a good team together as well. I think that's part of the consideration is kind of what's going to be in Tempe next year as a team. And does that, right, put the quarterback position in the best opportunity to be successful?
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. What was the experience like at James Madison? You went back to Virginia, another tough road loss for the Cougs. But what was your overall trip like for you?
Oh, it was great. Like, look, James Madison, I tell you what, like, think about what an incredible program, right? They go get into from FCS to FBS in 2022. They had all sorts of success at the FCS level. Kurt Signetti obviously was the man that kind of led the charge there. Now he's at Indiana. Really like what they're doing now. The current head coach, Bob Chesney, is probably going to be, he's going to end up at Penn State or somewhere else here in the next few weeks is my guess. But the game, the fans are really into it. It's the perfect setting, right? It's about 25,000 people, kind of smaller stadium, but it's packed. The people are great. You can see why they're having success. And it makes me think about what, the new Pac-12 is going to be with the Boise's of the world and Utah States and obviously Washington State and Oregon State. But, that's the niche where you can have a lot of success, right? Passionate fan bases at a regional level. You can compete, you can compete nationally, right? James Madison, they haven't played a great schedule, but they've won a bunch of games and they're in the national conversation. And that's really what you want. And so I looked at it from the lens of, boy, this is a really passionate fan base, a good football team. And, a place like Washington State and Oregon State can continue to kind of learn from that and build in a similar way.
Alex, you know quarterbacks pretty well. Matt Stafford put on a clinic on Sunday Night Football. Like, he's playing the best football of his career. How's he doing it, man? What are you seeing from him right now?
Look, Matt Stafford has been one of the best players in pro football for a long time, as long as I can remember, right? And when he was in Detroit, he was just buried, obviously, in kind of a place that was struggling as an organization. And his opportunity to get out and go to the Rams and be with Sean McVay, I thought the story of them getting together is so cool for one, but the success they've had is fantastic, and I think nobody deserves it more. He works really hard, and ultimately what you see with Matt Stafford is a combination of elite physical tools. I mean, just probably the best thrower of the football in the NFL. Matched with great offensive scheme and just a next level understanding right at this point in his career of what defenses are trying to do to him. Like, it's very hard to trick Matt Stafford. Like, he knows what's coming, right? And if he's got a decent running game and can play action pass, I mean, you're going to get the results that you're seeing this year.
Yeah, he was flat out naughty. I want to ask you this. As a quarterback, what is the difference between dropping back when you're under center compared to being in shotgun? Break that down for me.
I mean, there's some physical differences. A lot of guys like, the reason the shotgun was created and a lot of the reason people prefer going to it as a quarterback is you start farther away from the line of scrimmage. And as a result, you're able to kind of see more of the field. When you're up underneath center, you're obviously down, you have to bend your knees and be down to take the snap, which kind of restricts your ability to see downfield, and it changes the angle at which you see the field. So, that's a lot of the reason people went into shotgun. And it does. It's more advantageous, I think, for passers to be in shotgun and see the field better. It throws off your footwork in relation to what the receivers are doing. When you're under center, you count your steps very specifically, 3 steps, 5 steps, 7 steps, things like that. In shotgun, that's not quite as consistent because obviously the snap of the football, how the center snaps it, can change at times, right? It could be slower or faster or a bad snap or a good snap. So that can change timing sometimes. So, in the NFL, you see more under center because they like the timing better and they like running the football. Running the football is so much better from under center, and that leads to better play action pass. So that's why you see more of that in the NFL, whereas in college, people are trying to make it easier on the young quarterbacks to see the field.
One more football question for you. Shedeur Sanders made his first start for the Browns, got the win against the Raiders. What did you think about his first game?
You got to win, right? It's a game of results. It's really all that matters. I mean, I thought he handled himself well. The Raiders didn't play particularly well at all in any capacity, right? So I think that helped. But, he made a couple of big plays and thought he handled the moment really well. I'm interested to see what it looks like moving forward, right? He named the starter again, and see how he builds off a win. And he's the type of player, right? That the more success he has, the better he's going to play, because that's just, it feels like that was kind of the deal at Colorado and stuff like that. So getting off to a good start, I think, was really important for him.
All right, E4 Sports, you guys are doing so many good things. Talk to me about what you have with your strength and performance conditioning.
Yeah, all of our facilities here in the Portland metro area, so that's Vancouver, Beaverton, and Milwaukee, have strength and conditioning programs at them. All our coaches are certified. We create custom programs for athletes of all ages, male and female, all sports. Basically, if you have an athlete that's trying to improve their strength, their speed, injury prevention, agility, quickness, we got a program for you. You can see all that at e4sports.com or email team@e4sports.com. Great time to get in. A lot of great programs going. We got individual training and group training basically Monday through Sunday.
You're the man. Hey, enjoy the finale with the Beavs this weekend, and I'm pulling for you because I want to see the Cougs get bowl eligible, which is great. But thank you as always, and happy Thanksgiving, Alex. You're awesome.
Thanks, man. Happy Thanksgiving. Take care.
You got it. There's Alex Brink, the man right here, talking ball. We'll keep things moving here on the Rip City Drive. When we come back, my man Colin Amos from Goldberg Jones, Divorce for Men, 1-800-DIVORCE. We'll see what type of degenerate activity he's got going on for Thanksgiving, and he'll answer your divorce questions here on the Rip City Drive. All right, always a pleasure to have my good buddy from Goldberg Jones, Divorce for Men, 1-800-DIVORCE, Colin Amos in studio. And it sounds like you've got the life here because I know that you're going to have some action in on the games on Thursday. But your wife, you told me that you married her. She couldn't make mac and cheese, but now she's developed into some excellent cook. And so she wants to take care of Thanksgiving dinner, which allows you to kind of do your thing and watch a little ball. That's perfect.
Yeah, and what the
What
best
more could
part
a guy
about
ask for?
So we all know this as well, us married guys.
Yeah.
Some of the things that they say you can do, there's this passive aggressive aspect to it that's like, oh yeah, you don't have to help. And then you're sitting there watching the game, and then there's this kind of angry, and there's this tension in the kitchen or when you walk by.
Yeah.
There's no tension. She actually is. She's fine. But I can't have football on both screens, so
Yeah.
we have to watch something that she enjoys, and then I can turn on the other TV, which I can see both from the kitchen. And we talk, and we watch Love Island or Sunset or whatever. I don't really care. And then I'll have the games going on, and then she cooks all day, and we have dip, and we have champagne, and just it's great.
All right, so the 3 games on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Green Bay is a 2.5-point dog at Detroit.
Just turned to 3, but at least plus. So now it's 3.
Interesting.
At least my side. I mean, everybody's they're fluctuating. Maybe they're doing teaser protection.
What site do you normally check out?
Well, my site is an off site.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the site I'm looking at right now is 2.5 minus 110.
Yep.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, but the 3 that I have is plus 100. So it's
Okay.
effectively the same thing. If I got the 2.5, it's plus 120. So
Yeah.
we're close.
Okay, that makes sense. Kansas City right now, -3 at Dallas. That's
Crazy.
-3, minus 120. And then you've got the Ravens -7 at home hosting the Bengals, and it looks like Joe Burrow's going to play.
That's right.
Of those games,
And Jamar Chase is going
and
to be
Jamar
back.
Chase is back. What's the most tasty of the games that you're looking at?
All of them. It's finally this whole Thanksgiving's actually got good competitive games. You don't have this waste of
agree.
space. I just like the Detroit game. I just like that first game because Green Bay has just not been on,
Yeah.
and they've been off, but they've been winning.
Uh-huh.
Detroit has not been on, but they've lost and won. Like the last, I was on them -10. I thought, okay, last weekend they're just going to steamroll.
Yeah, the bounce
they-
back game against the
Oh.
Giants.
And they just barely won that game because Jahmyr Gibbs
Gave up 2 touchdowns on 2 trick plays.
Yeah, exactly. And how much fun was watching Jameis? Jameis is just, I wish he could be the quarterback for all time. He is so fun. When he caught that ball, he looked like, Megatron catching a ball, pushing the guy down, running into the end zone, having fun, doing his little dance. The guy is just a blast.
What I appreciate about Winston now is that, and I think this was a couple weeks ago, I heard him talking about this, is that when he came into the league, he was trying to act a certain way, right?
Yeah.
But he finally reached a point where he's just happy and comfortable being himself, right?
Yeah.
And so you can tell he's just having a blast.
Oh, yeah. They did a montage of all his crazy sayings
Yeah.
and interviews, and it's just brilliant. The guy is brilliant.
He was singing at the press conference
yeah,
last week
yeah.
at practice.
Love New York. That's a Hamilton reference. That's a Hamilton reference.
Yeah. And it's probably important you said that because when he started singing, I was like, oh, Hamilton, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
That's a little too sharp for a football mind.
I know.
Hamilton
exactly.
reference.
I
What
was
are we
not
doing here,
thinking.
Jameis?
I was not thinking about that. But what a ball to watch. But unfortunately, I had a -10 on the Lions, and I'm like, Jameis, where's my interception, Jameis? And he came out. I was texting Rick Jones on the other side. I said, I need Jameis to throw an interception. We got to get back into this game because I have some money line going on this one.
All right, your Huskies are getting 6.5 at home against the Ducks. What do you think about that one?
I'm actually surprised. I thought it was going to be like -9.5.
Yeah.
So 6.5 is some serious respect to the Huskies because they take care of business. And last week, we played UCLA and it was just a stomp.
Uh-huh.
But we lost to Wisconsin, Michigan. I don't know. I'm nervous, even though it's at Husky Stadium.
Yeah.
I know all my crew is already chirping, and everybody's going, and that's going to be a packed stadium.
Atmosphere is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I think so. I'm hopeful it'll be like the second game we beat the Ducks in that same season to go to the national championship. To get prepared to go
Got
to
him
the
in the
national.
regular season, got him in the
That's right.
in
2
the
times
title
in
game.
one season, and that went all the way to the end. I'm hoping it's going to be like that.
All right, Colin Amos, Goldberg Jones, Divorce for Men, 1-800-DIVORCE, here to answer your questions. First one up, Colin. What is the difference between a divorce decree and a divorce?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, well, a divorce is the process, you go through, and at the end of it, in Washington, you get a decree of dissolution. A decree of dissolution. In Oregon, they call it a general judgment of dissolution, and that's the final conclusion. There's all these things because attorneys make everything far more complicated than it should be to get through any process, and certainly a divorce. And you have all these forms. At the end, you finally get this decree that the judge actually signs, and that's going to bind you to whatever the terms are. Going to bind you to the parenting plan and the property and debt division, the spousal support, child support. And same thing in Oregon, general judgment of dissolution. It's going to be what the judge signs. So a lot of people get served with a petition, and they're like, okay, I don't agree with this. Like, well, the judge will never look at the petition. You got to make sure your final decree or your final judgment is accurate and you can live with it because that's what the judge is going to sign.
That's right. And that's why we encourage you to call 1-800-DIVORCE. Colin can answer any of your questions. Before you agree to anything, you've got to make sure that, your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, right?
Absolutely. It affects your life. It affects your life.
Big time. All right. Next question we've gotten before, so this must come up and be something you deal with on a regular basis. But it says, Colin, after 20 years of marriage, we are getting a divorce. My wife is threatening to move my daughter out of state. How do I prevent that from happening?
Yeah, this is a great question because I get this call 5 to 10 times a week, especially now. People are moving out. They're moving to different states, taking jobs, getting remarried. In fact, I just got a case where the gal is now moving. They just came to a new settlement on a 50-50 parenting plan, and then she served him with a modification saying, oh, by the way, my new spouse or spouse-to-be is in the military, and I want to take the daughter and move to Italy. And so in Oregon, there's a statute. So if you don't have a judgment in place for custody or parenting time, you can file a case and get a status quo order that says keep the routine for the child that's been in place for the last 3 months the same. And don't leave the state, and certainly not the country. So it's critical to get something in place to prohibit the move right away. And then we can figure out what truly is in the best interest of the child because the courts, certainly in Oregon, favor consistency, structure, maintaining the school, the doctors, and most importantly, the relationship with the other parent. So you have advantages, even if you're not the primary care parent, just because you're here. If you're in the same school, you can keep everything the same for the child. But you got to take action when they provide that notice because in Oregon, it just says, if they give reasonable notice of their intent to relocate, that's what the statute says. So they can send you an email. They can do these things. So take action. Call me right away. Call an attorney right away. File a post-judgment status quo. Keep the child in the same routine, but take action for sure.
All right. Colin Amos, Divorce for Men, 1-800-DIVORCE, law offices of Goldberg Jones. Next question. What do the courts count as income when it comes to calculating child support?
Another great question.
Probably comes up every day of every week for you?
Because people are like, hey, this shouldn't be counted, that shouldn't be counted. Pretty much they include everything.
Wow.
They include everything. If you get regular gifts, like some, parents or grandparents will give you $5,000 or $10,000 a year, just a gift. If there's regularity by which you receive a gift or disbursements from an estate, some people say, well, that's my VA disability. That doesn't count. No, it can count as any income. Well, that's not taxable, so that's not income. Nope, that's income for the purposes of calculation of child support. Pretty much anything of regularity that you receive can be used for the basis of child support. Now, VA disability can't be garnished. However, it can be used as the basis to determine the child support. So pretty much anything can be used.
All right, next question. I'm sure there's a lot of guys that love that answer, too, by the way.
They don't like that one. They don't like that.
All right, Colin, my wife caught me cheating on her. Can adultery impact asset division in a divorce?
Well, thankfully for this guy, no. It used to be we got to litigate who the worst person in the marriage was, which was awesome for attorneys. Made a lot of money on that one.
Oh, my goodness.
Because, affairs, abuse, financial mismanagement, you like the sun, she likes the rain. We'd fight about all that stuff. And at the end of the day, the court said, I don't know who the worst person is here. You did that and you did that. But I can tell you got here together. So whether you had an affair or you're abusive or there's financial mismanagement, she spent too much money, you saved more money, whatever, the court says it's a no-fault state. Most states have converted to no-fault status.
That's probably best, isn't it?
It is. It's much better for individuals because all the drama and trauma of the marriage or the relationship is not really relevant to the court making a decision as to you got here together after 20 years, your assets and debts, regardless of who's at fault for why we're getting a divorce, you still got here as a team.
Yeah.
You as a father, her as a mother, not you as a husband or a wife.
Yeah.
So all the right things come into focus when you take kind of fault pretty much out of it.
So in other words, shame on you for cheating.
That's
but
right. Yeah.
Asset division is going to be down the middle.
Good for you on that one. you won. You won. It's still just divide by 2.
All right, Colin, next question. My son is getting married for the first time. He's 23 years old, and I'm very nervous for him. What advice should I give him before he enters into a union?
It's like my son who's 24. My advice is don't do it. Just don't do it. But, kids are kids. They're going to
Well, I can answer this question, right? Prenuptial agreement.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Now, the problem with a 23-year-old, as I joked before, when I got married and I was 29 or 30, I didn't have a pot to piss in. I didn't have anything to protect. So a 23-year-old generally signing a prenuptial is like, all right. Yeah,
your wife would have laughed at you if
she
you
would have said,
we didn't get a prenup.
Yeah, exactly. She wanted a prenup to protect her against my debt, which I finally paid off like a couple years ago, and I'm really old. But so a prenuptial is good because you can protect maybe inheritance, and maybe there's a family estate and things the parents don't want necessarily the new spouse to gain access to what they've built. You can also deal with prenuptials moving forward, how you're going to manage your asset accumulation and income during the marriage, which is very popular these days. But, in that situation, I would say premarital counseling, really think it through.
Yeah.
Because
premarital counseling is a great idea.
I don't know why people don't do it. Really, let's talk through the real issues because, I have to say that when I got engaged, I wasn't thinking of all the things I should have been thinking about. And luckily it worked out. We're happier now after 30 plus years than we were when we got married, but it's a crapshoot otherwise. And so you might want to have somebody with some wisdom and experience to say, hey, have you thought about this? And the answer is probably is no, you haven't. And so it's probably, so I'd say that, but not as it relates to divorce or custody or things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
you have 2 kids, we were just talking about it. Your son, how old is he now?
he is going to be, let me think here real quick. So born in 03. So he'll be 23 in February.
Exactly.
Isn't that crazy?
Exactly. Think about what you're telling him. It's like, no, don't do it.
Don't do it. That's exactly what I tell him. Like, because now, and it's not because I'm down on marriage.
No,
it's just what I've learned through experience is that when you rush into something without going through the proper process. In fact, let me tell you this. I got a buddy who is a pastor, and so he's done a lot of premarital counseling, right?
Perfect person.
Yes. So what he tells me is that what he does is if any couple wants him to marry them, he's like, okay, but we have to go through some counseling. And so what he does is, and I love this, it's a great idea. He makes them separate for 2 weeks, no contact, no communication, and then come back together after that 2-week absence of no communication with one another. And he says, if you still want to move forward, then we can sit down and begin the counseling talk. And what his idea was on that, and I think it's genius, is he said that relationships, especially when you're young and you're in love or you think you're in love or whatever the case may be, he said, think of it like a fish tank, right? He goes, when the sediment at the bottom gets mixed around or shaken, it spreads throughout the water and it gets cloudy, right?
Right.
So same thing in a relationship. Your emotions cloud your judgment.
Absolutely.
And so you're not seeing clearly the situation. So he makes them separate and then come together. And if they still want to move forward, they'll go through the counseling and he'll marry them. He said that you would be surprised at how often that 2-week gap with no communication, they come back and realize that, hey, we decided not to get married.
And that's great because it can also break that codependency aspect. A lot of people get so caught up in their own little universe, they can't see a lot of that sediment around them floating around.
Yeah.
Taking that break lets them kind of clear their mind and think about it. And maybe let's take a break or let's take it more slowly. The corollary to this question, which is when I was, because I've been an attorney for 30 years, and I was always worried about my daughter because I have a daughter who's older and my son who's now 25 and she's 30. And I was always worried, okay, my daughter. But as I started to practice law and family law, I started realizing, no, I'm worried about my son because going out there and having sex and being in relationships, you know what happens when you have sex? Children.
Yeah.
And as a man, you're going to have sex and you don't get to control that. Women have a little bit more control over how they want to handle that situation.
Yeah.
And if you haven't made good decisions, if you haven't been, even though you have a great parent, kids are just dumb. They're out there doing things they shouldn't be doing. And
All the
then
time.
I have to deal with that situation where I have a 18-year-old brought in by their parents who have a child that with a person that they really didn't care much for or want to be in a relation. Now you're married. Now you're having a child with this person you didn't really know that well, and you're now dealing with their family. And there's some crazy people out there that you have to deal with. So,
Yes.
having your kids, certainly both the boy and the girl, your son and your daughter, counseling on the true consequences of sex. And I know I'm sounding like an old guy here, but man,
It's great advice, though.
as a family law attorney dealing with custody and visitation and people who are not married and having kids and all the conflict that derives from that, it's kind of scary. And that scared me about my son.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that 100%. And like I was trying to, like any dad, like trying to have conversation with my daughter, like, because I try to be real with her. I'm like, look, and I gave all these different scenarios for, I said, when young boys say this, I said,
They're all full of it.
I said, their goal is the same. They
Oh, that's
just
right.
they will say whatever they can say to you to get you to remove clothing.
That's right.
And
it's
so,
true.
And I was just saying, look, I'm just speaking from my own experience. So I'm just saying, I was just trying to, I wanted her to understand the value of her virginity and that once you give that away, it's gone,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but guys they will say anything.
Anything. So luckily, my kids, I'm glad you're having that real conversation.
Yeah.
So when they say these things, you're like, no. Just let me tell you
Yeah,
what
yeah.
they're really saying.
Yeah.
And it's very simple. Guys are really simple. And for my
More
son,
than
it
you
has,
can possibly imagine.
Yeah, I was like, you're gonna have to talk to your mom because I'm not gonna be able to how are you gonna interpret this one? I don't know. But for my daughter, it's like, here's what he's really thinking.
Yeah.
It's
This is
real
what
simple.
it means. Yeah, it's very simple.
Very simple.
All right. We have a few more questions. So you have time? You want to hang out with me in another segment?
Yeah.
All right. Colin Amos is going to stay with me, and we'll come back. A few more questions for Colin, and we'll keep things moving towards Thanksgiving. Don't forget the Blazers play an NBA Cup game tomorrow. They beat the Spurs. 7 o'clock tip from Moda. They move on to the knockout round in the tournament, which is pretty awesome. And those games will be on the 9th or 10th. Spurs and Blazers tomorrow at 7 here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, Colin Amos, law offices of Goldberg Jones, is in studio answering your questions. All right, here is another question for you, Colin. It says, if my ex remarries, how does that impact child support?
Yeah, a lot of people do call me because they're like, all right, this is my big chance. I got to lower my child support because my ex is now remarried and this guy makes money, generally speaking, because we focus on representing men. It doesn't have really any impact at all, unfortunately. The only real impact it has, which is not direct, it's indirect, is if your ex is working and they make some income and they get remarried and they stop working, they will still be imputed as if they were working full time. But the new husband or new person's income is not directly taken into the calculation of child support. So it really doesn't have a direct impact. It can be taken into consideration, but the courts rarely will ever essentially make the new spouse or new boyfriend or new girlfriend be financially responsible for the child. So,
all right,
unfortunately, no real impact.
Colin Amos, you can call him and get a consultation at no charge, 1-800-DIVORCE. In fact, our next question deals with that. It says, Colin, when I call for a consultation, what questions are you going to ask me?
Yeah, so the thing about consultations, I've done them for 30 years, and I get this. It's very cathartic for people to come in who have gone through a lot of drama and trauma in their relationships and their marriage, and they come in and this is not to be insensitive. I'm trying to be real direct in the answer to this question. They feel like they have to unload all the drama and trauma of that relationship for me to understand. From an attorney's perspective, there's some real basic things that I need to know to be able to answer anything you have. And I don't need to know all of the trauma that came up. It's context, and it's important to know. But the things that I ask is like, how long have you been married? What county do you live in? Because I got to determine the state. And we vary our representation based upon the counties. What county? How long have you been married? Do you both work? Because right away, the job question gets me to child support, gets me to parenting plans, and it gets me to spousal support. Do you both work? What do you both earn, your gross monthly incomes? Whatever it may be. Oh, she's not working. She is working. Whatever it is, I need to know what are you earning, what's your work schedule, because that's going to get me to what kind of parenting plans can I start to derive, because courts are going to be based upon when you're available. So I need to know your work schedule, your income for the purposes of child support, and do you have exposure for spousal support? And then assets and debts. I need to know all, and I don't need to know the details, but do we have a 401k? Do we have a house? Do we have equity in the house? Do we have credit card debt? Do we have some kind of small, closely held business? Do we have, all of the things that people have out there? What type of pension? Did you work for the state in the past? Was this, and then the questions of, was this generated prior to marriage? So, your jobs, your income, your asset and debt, your work schedules, and then assets and debts, which is secondary, assets and debts brought into the marriage so we can determine whether we have separate property or joint property. If you give me like 2 minutes of an answer, I can start walking you through everything you need to start being aware of.
That's great. Do you change representation based on county due to the relationship that the attorney may have with a particular court or judge or knowledge of the area?
Yeah, the different counties, the different judges obviously in different counties, and they have little local rules that each county is a little bit quirky. But they also have different lead times by which you can get into court, like a motion for temporary orders for temporary spousals, or temporary orders for temporary parenting plan, or temporary child support, or temporary spouse support, how you can access the court. And so it's helpful to know which county we're in. Marion County is very different. Lane County is very quirky. Then we have Multnomah County, Clackamas. And then, then we, of course, we're up in Washington. We're very prevalent in Clark and Cowlitz County. But Cowlitz is different than Clark. And then you got Skamania County, which is different again. And the smaller counties, once we get down to Jackson or Josephine, there are counties that allow you to pair remotely versus having to be present. So the county can make a difference.
That's pretty
Absolutely.
awesome. All right,
Yeah.
Final question for you. We got about 2 minutes here. It says, Colin, if I adopt my girlfriend's son, will she get child support?
Well, if you adopt the child, that child is your child. And therefore, when you adopt that child, you need to understand that if things don't work out, you have all the rights of a parent to pursue custody and visitation, your parenting plan, but you also have all the financial responsibility of that parent because now you are on the hook for child support. And we've had a lot of guys who have adopted kids when they're young because it's the right thing, we're in love, and then they, let's say the child is 10 and they are getting a divorce, and the other father may have, given a child up for adoption, but now mom rekindles that, and now she's turned the child against him, and he's got to pay child support. I shouldn't have to pay child support. It's not my child. I said, yes, it is. You adopted that child. That child is yours. And I give him the hope. But you have all the rights of a father to pursue parenting time.
Yeah.
But, yes, you're going to have to pay child support. So, absolutely.
Another thing to consider before you sign on the dotted
have some
line.
counseling. Call me first.
It's very simple. 1-800-DIVORCE is the telephone number. You can check them out online at goldbergjones-or.com. Divorce for Men, 1-800-DIVORCE. Colin Amos is here. Dude, great time today in studio. I appreciate it. And happy Thanksgiving to you. And I appreciate you and all the time you spend in studio answering questions and talking ball.
It's great. I love it. I love helping people out there in an odd way.
And you have. So many people I know that I've said, dude, just call Colin. Because they call me up. I'm like, you don't want me answering questions. Just call Colin. He'll take care of you. And you do. Yeah,
I'll take care of it. You don't have to come in. Don't have to pay for the consultation. I can answer questions over the phone at no charge. And
the great thing is by calling, a lot of times you're like, yeah, you don't need an attorney, but think about these things. It's very simple.
Yeah. And I'm busy. So if I don't have to charge you $200 for an hour consultation, I will answer your questions so you can move on and have a peace of mind.
All right, 1-800-DIVORCE, Colin Amos, Goldberg Jones. We'll keep things rolling. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday is coming up next. All right, it's now 5 o'clock. What is going on, my friends? Happy Thanksgiving. The Trailblazers are back home after a 2-1 road trip. And tomorrow night, the Spurs are going to be in town. Tip-off from Moda Center at 7. Chris Burkhart will have Blazers Game Day live at 5 o'clock from Moda. And tomorrow night's game is also an NBA Cup game, which is special because the Blazers, with a win, are going to clinch Group C in the West and move on to the knockout round with quarterfinal action on either December 9th or 10th. That is tomorrow night's home game against the Spurs. Also, it's a Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. Every Tuesday, I give away tickets to each and every Trailblazers home game. We got a pair of tickets for tomorrow night's Cup game against the Spurs. We're going to give those away next. Oregon's at Washington Saturday as they finish out their regular season. 12:30 on CBS. The Ducks favored by 6.5. With a win, Oregon will lock up a spot in the college football playoff. More of the Rip City Drive coming at you right now. All right, Rip City Drive, Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. We got a pair of tickets to give away for the Spurs Trailblazers, which is coming up tomorrow night at Moda Center. It is an NBA Cup game, and that means if the Trailblazers win, they're going to advance into the knockout round, which they have not done before in the in-season tournament. So something to keep an eye on tomorrow night. Tickets are still available at trailblazers.com. So we're going to give away tickets here in just a moment, and then Curtis Long is going to join me. So what I want to do is I'm just going to make it easy on you guys tonight. You know, we're getting close to Thanksgiving. You don't want to think too much. So let's go ahead and make it simple in honor of my quarterback, Bo Nix. Caller 10 right now to 503-248-0620. Caller 10 to 503-248-0620 is going to get a pair of tickets for the NBA Cup game tomorrow night against the Spurs. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Caller 10, I want to hear from a Blazer fan. Fire away. 503-248-0620. Mike Oakes will get your information, and you'll be dialed in for the NBA Cup game tomorrow night against the Spurs. It is 5:03 here on the Rip City Drive. plus years, Curtis?
58 years. He has been the voice of Autzen Stadium since it was built in 1967. He's been the only voice that Duck fans have ever heard. So, of course, me being an avid public address announcer, one of my idols after going to school at Oregon, I just think he is the greatest person. So every year I have emailed them and said, hey, just in case Don can't make it to a game, here's my level of experience. I'd love to fill in. And lo and behold, last year I got the call for a few basketball games and a track meet and some baseball games, but never a football game. That's kind of my white whale. But then late, a couple of Thursday nights ago, they said, hey, Don's lost his voice completely. Any chance you can be there? And I said, of course, I will be there at Autzen Stadium for the Ducks versus Minnesota.
Gosh, that's so awesome. And, of course, Don Essig is a legend, and you had a chance to go in and step behind the mic. So let me ask you, because I've talked to Travis about this, other people, Brian Wheeler, when you're stepping in and filling in for a legend, do you feel a little more pressure or a sense of, hey, I got to make sure I don't screw this up? Like, what was going through your mind? I know you've done it time and time again, but stepping in for Don Essig is a little bit different than doing OSAA.
Yeah, when I got up to stepping into the press box at Autzen Stadium, a little different than stepping into the press box at Hillsborough Stadium. You look down and look at 59,000 people who are filing in, and I've got that first paragraph in front of me. It's all scripted out, what I'm supposed to read. What I was most worried about, and Duck fans, I'm sure, can empathize with this, is that Don has made it his own saying to give the weather report before a game, but he always ends with, it never rains at Autzen Stadium. And I was really worried that saying, hey, please don't make me do that. That's Don's line. I don't want to do that and sound like I'm impersonating him. And it was, they couldn't have handled it any better. They had me do the weather report. So I would say, it's 55 degrees, a slight breeze out of the southwest. But as my friend Don Essig always says, and then they had it queued up for a recording of him saying, it never rains at Autzen Stadium. So it worked out perfectly.
Well,
yeah.
I'm sure glad they handled it that way, because I would be the same way. I wouldn't want to repeat or try to say somebody else's line that's so legendary, right? Because it would be impossible for it to sound sincere, and then people would instantly hate you because they're like, hey, that's Don's line. What are you doing, right? You don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, who is this moron? That's what I was most scared about because, let's face it, he's missed, I think, 3 games, counting that last one that I did, in 58 years. So as soon as I came on the mic, I expected to see heads swivel around and look at the press box and think, who the heck is that guy? And I really figured I would get blown up on social media as well. But I got to say, Duck fans, I probably gained about 200 more followers, and all of them were very positive. So a lot of great compliments. Hey, great job. Thank goodness you didn't have to say it never rains. You did a wonderful job, though, as far as keeping up with down and distance. And, the nicest compliment I got from several people was, yes, we could tell it was somebody different, but the vibe in Autzen Stadium didn't change at all. So I think that's the best compliment for me, is that was my goal, is to make it mine, but still fans experience the same joy that they always do at Autzen Stadium, and they didn't have some moron yelling into the mic trying to take over the game atmosphere.
Interesting. Yeah, I was always curious, too. I've been broadcasting for years, but I've never done PA work. Like when you're up there in the box and you're in front of the PA mic, are you following a script for football like you do at Blazer games? Do you have a spotter? Is there somebody in your ear? Like what type of information you're trying to give? Like give me some of the details on the work.
Yeah, every sport is a little bit different. So at Duck games, there is someone sitting to my left who's kind of in charge of everything that goes up on the video boards and all the music that's being played. And she's telling me, I have a script in front of me. She'll tell me when to read certain paragraphs or flip to this page, and we're going to read this now. Like we would recognize a cancer survivor. So they'd play a little video about the cancer survivor, and then she would point to me, and I would recognize that person for fighting like a duck, and the crowd goes wild for that. So any kind of announcement, sponsor announcement, she would usually point at me and point to my script on when to read those. Now, that's a little bit different than a Trailblazer game. Filling in for Mark Mason's a little bit different in that you have a headset on, and Todd Bosma, who you've had on your program several times, he's in your ear through the headphones telling you as you're announcing something, he may be saying, okay, we got to flip ahead to page 13, flip ahead to page 13 after you're done reading this sentence. And so he's talking at the same time. So it can get a little nerve-wracking. You've got to really pay attention and concentrate. I will say, though, at Autzen, when you announce, your voice projects and then it comes right back at you as a echo. So that's really disconcerting as well. So you'll say something, but you don't hear yourself back for about a half second later. So you really got to concentrate on what you're saying. But certainly a blast. And you know, I really count my blessings. I've got to fill in for two of my all-time public address idols, one Don Essig at Autzen Stadium and two Mark Mason at Moda Center. And both of them could not have been nicer. I mean, you could think they're like, who's this Yahoo who's going to take over my job for a night or something? Why do I have to give the mic to him? But total opposite. Don Essig could not have been nicer. He sent me a thank you email afterwards saying, thanks for filling in for me. You did a great job. I'm so glad that I was able to count on you during laryngitis. And Mark Mason has never been anything but nice to me during any of our interactions. And we see each other all the time during Blazer games, before games, maybe in the media room. And yeah, he's always super nice and supportive. So I've just been really lucky that way.
That's cool, man. We're talking to the principal, Curtis Long. Which sport do you enjoy the most? Is football? I mean, I know that was your white whale, but what, in terms of PA work, is basketball, football, which is more enjoyable?
Well, I would say that football is enjoyable in that there's kind of a cadence to it, in that there's a play that happens, you announce the down and distance, and then you go on to the next one. Basketball can be a little haphazard because you'll have, you know, a dunk on one end, and then a team will fast break down the floor to the other end and score, and then you've got a foul, and you've got to see how many team fouls that is, how many personal fouls that is. I love football in that it's kind of a rhythm to it, in that, you know, Noah Whittington on the carry, that's a gain of 9 yards. Chad Dewing makes a tackle. It'll be 2nd down and 1 for the Ducks. So there's a cadence to that. In basketball, it's kind of all over the place. And it's interesting, too, at Blazer games, I ran into that with doing the starting lineups now. So do I imitate Mark Mason? When I did the Blazer games, Yusuf Nurkic was the center. Of course, Mark Mason would announce his starting lineup in Bosnian when Nurkic was announced. And I went back and forth. Should I do that? Should I do that? And I think fans kind of expected that. So I did. I did my best. It's kind of my impersonation of Mark Mason speaking Bosnian. I had to go through Google Translate and listen to it a bunch of times, but we pulled it off.
Wow.
So it worked out well. But at Duck games, for those of you who maybe wonder, have gone for a long time, why don't they do the starting lineups anymore? That's Dan Lanning. He doesn't want any recognition. We are a team. We don't get individual recognition. So those of you that go to Duck games may notice that they don't do the starting lineups anymore for either squad, because Dan Lanning doesn't want anyone introduced individually.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I were going to fill in for Mark Mason, I wouldn't impersonate Mason. I would impersonate Lawrence Tanter, the longtime PA voice of the Los Angeles Lakers. That's what I would do. It would be awesome.
Yeah. Kobe Bryant.
Oh, it's the best. You know what's great, too, is that you and I are like nerds like this, but I grew up because I always cared about the broadcasting side, so I would pay attention to PA voices. I'd pay attention to broadcasters, all the little details that I really enjoyed. And that's what was cool about that night, you know, with the game, is that I was able to, the Minnesota game that you did, I was able to tune into the broadcast, and I could hear you loud and clear on the Fox broadcast. It's like, dude, that's my boy right there. I love that.
Yeah, my phone was blowing up with people who said, "Oh, I hear you loud and clear in the background." I did get hammered by a couple of Duck fans because
Who'd you screw
Jamari
up?
Johnson.
Yes.
Jamari Johnson of the Ducks had a good game, had a few catches. And as I looked down, I called him Jeremiah Johnson, who another Duck great, but I'm about 15 years too late on him. So I did hear immediately, just as I'm sure you do during your show, if you mispronounce someone's name or missay someone's name, someone's going to call you on it right away. And, of course, some of the Duck fans on Twitter found me and said, hey, that's Jamari Johnson, not Jeremiah.
Yeah. Well, it happens all the time. What I've noticed is over the years, because I've watched so many games and seen so many different athletes, and a lot of the names are very similar, my brain mixes them up sometimes. In fact, the guy I'm having an issue with right now is the Thunder guard, Alex Caruso. I always call him David Caruso from CSI Miami. And,
David Caruso.
And so, because those are two names I'm familiar with, so I mix them up all the time. So half the time I call him Alex. The other half of the time I call him David. And so it's like, what's going on here? But, yeah, it happens to me all the time, especially when you get a lot of common names like Johnson is one of those names, Smith. There's a lot of common names in sport that you come across, and it's easy to mix them up. So don't feel too bad.
You know who's really good at that is our guy, Travis Demers. He is so prepared on some of these names from, especially players that come from other countries, come from Europe. I mean, Shvi, Mikhailuk, and Travis nails it on the first try. As soon as the guy comes in the game, he's on it.
Yeah, he gets it first try. Michael Holton sometimes will go through an entire broadcast and never nail the name. Travis is really smart, and he's so good at pronunciation. So he's my go-to guy when I'm uncertain on a name. He nails it.
Yeah, and we are, like you had said, we're kind of nerds where we pay attention to that kind of thing. I'm always listening to what Travis is doing. I'm always listening to what Mark Mason's doing. But when I tune in any football game, I'm always listening to what the PA announcer is doing and how they're going about their business. Now, I know you're a big Denver Bronco fan, and I'm a big fan of their PA announcer as well.
Alan Roach.
Who's gotten opportunities to be Super Bowls and NFL Europe games, and he's tweeting about where he is at certain times. I would love to be Alan Roach someday. Maybe I could get to his level. But right now I am so content just being able to, I mean, life has been completed when I get to fill in for Don Essig.
No, it's the best, man. All right, the principal, Curtis Long. Heck of a job filling in for the legend Don Essig. Curtis, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at Moda Center as we get ready for NBA Cup. I love Curtis. Love the music, too. We'll come back. We got to head to Denver and get the latest on my Broncos. Ryan Edwards, 850 KOA is coming up next. Is somebody talking at me? It's my pleasure to welcome Ryan Edwards from 850 KOA back on the Rip City Drive. And Ryan, it's great to have you back on the show, buddy. I heard Sean Payton's press conference yesterday, and he said that, coming out of the bye week, the things he wanted to work on or see vast improvement on were a couple of different things. One, penalties. I think the Broncos might be the second most penalized team in the league, but also the turnover ratio. But for you, after, seeing 11 games, aside from those two things, what's one area that you think they need to improve as they continue to move forward and get ready for postseason play?
Yeah, they're actually the most penalized team, both in amount of penalties and yards. But it's a bad deal there, and they're -3 in the turnover margin, which is something that it's a combination of things. I think the defense certainly could pick up the slack a little bit more in takeaways. They've had great numbers when it comes to sacks and pressures, just haven't quite gotten those takeaways. I'd say overall, I'd probably start on the offensive side of the ball. I'd like to see a little more efficient run game. Now that you're not going to have J.K. Dobbins, it's going to be R.J. Harvey and Jaleel McLaughlin leading the way. You're going to need to be able to lean on that. And, those running backs are, R.J.'s averaging 4 yards per carry over the season, but he's got 100 fewer carries than J.K. Dobbins. 100 fewer carries than J.K. Dobbins. So you've got a lot of inexperience there. McLaughlin's has experience, but not as a full-time starter. So can you cobble it together? That's something that I think a lot of people want to see. Certainly consistency from Bo Nix. He's done a pretty good job, of course, avoiding sacks, but he's only completing 61.5% of his passes. And there's just been some games this year where he has not been everything you ultimately need him to be if he's going to be a franchise quarterback. So great stuff on the comebacks, great stuff on closing out games, but need to put it all together.
I agree. I want to ask about the relationship between Bo and Sean Payton. And the reason why I ask is, I thought he was terrific against Kansas City, and that was a huge win. But, before that, coming out of the Raider game on that Thursday night where they played so poorly, I did notice that a couple of individuals who have good relationships with Sean, Chase Daniel and Colin Cowherd, they were both very critical of Bo. And even Colin Cowherd was talking about how the Broncos might consider trading Bo. And I'm just wondering, do you think that was information they got from Sean after that Raider game when they reported it?
We've speculated that. I don't know officially, but I had heard some rumblings about some disconnect. And I think, again, winning helps. It always helps. And that was a really big win. And they seem to be a little bit more on the same page when it came to that game against Kansas City. Hopefully that can, lead to some growth. But, when you come off a primetime game where the offense specifically looks bad and you're the head coach that's an offensive-minded head coach and your young quarterback is a guy that you've propped up now for quite some time, you maybe want to put something out there that deflects some of the attention away from you and maybe how bad of a game you called. So I wouldn't put it past him necessarily, but I also think that if we would have seen some of that stuff continue into the Kansas City game, that would have caused for alarm. But instead, they looked like they were in better shape. And, of course, Colin Cowherd suddenly changed his tune, which is remarkable.
Yeah, no surprise there. I thought Bo was terrific in the Chief game because he did everything that everyone said he couldn't do. One, he went out and he played better in that game than Patrick Mahomes. But I thought what was really critical for me is he found some bigger plays, but I thought his third down passing was terrific, especially on that final drive. What did you think about Bo's performance against Kansas City?
Yeah, I thought he was great. And, if you just look at the box score, no passing touchdowns, no interceptions either. But some people will say, well, he was good. It wasn't great. It's like, no, watch the game and watch some of the deep passing, especially like you mentioned, third down. He was nails. And honestly, like last year when they were at Arrowhead, he made a really critical pass to Cortland Sutton in the closing moments that allowed the offense to stay on the field. They lined up a 35-yard field goal for the win. They obviously got it blocked. You fast forward a year later, similar situation, makes a 3rd and 15 completion for 21 yards to Cortland Sutton, had that big completion to Troy Franklin to get them in closer. They were another 35-yarder, but this time they converted it. I mean, when he needs to make the plays, he makes them. And that's really the all you need to know. And that's really endeared him to the locker room, both sides of the ball. They know, hey, we want to get the ball in his hands. He has the ability to close games out. He did it against the Houston Texans as well, right? I mean, then all of a sudden that win looked like a bigger deal after they beat the Buffalo Bills. But again, had to go on a 3-4 minute drive to close things out and get that field goal at the end for the win, and he was able to do that, and so he just finds a way to come up in the moments when they absolutely need it. So I thought he's tremendous.
All right, Sean was evasive when he was asked about Patrick Surtain Jr. and Alex Singleton. Do you think Surtain will be back this weekend?
I think both will be back this weekend.
Okay, good.
I think they have a shot at Nate Atkins as well, who's been kind of instrumental in a lot of things they want to do on the offensive side of the ball, and I think even Jonah Ellis has a chance to get back out there, which will help their depth as far as edge rushers go. They're in a pretty good spot. They're still, of course, missing their starting left guard, Ben Powers. I don't know. I mean, we heard an early timeline, maybe late December, so we'll see on that. J.K. Dobbins obviously out until at least the Super Bowl. At least that's the positive sign of that. I don't even know if that's realistic at all. But yes, I think they're going to have Surtain. I think they're going to have Alex Singleton. And I think maybe a couple of the other guys might have a chance to play as well.
Well, I've looked at the schedule. So you've got, the 2 road games coming up against Washington and then at the Raiders. And then they got 2 home games with the Packers and the Jaguars before a road game at Kansas City on Christmas. They finish up at home against the Chargers. I mean, anything but the goal right now, I assume, is just the number 1 seed, right? It's got to be.
Oh, it definitely is. Yeah. And Sean did talk about that at his press conference. It's about seeding. It's about trying to put yourself in position. And, of course, if you have a shot at the number 1 seed, you got to go for it.
Yes,
and in
huge.
this case, it would be massive. I mean, to have the Super Bowl come through your house, and we've seen what a home field advantage the Broncos are undefeated. They're one of 2 teams that are undefeated this season at home. And they've got an 11-game winning streak at home, which is matches, I think, their longest home winning streak that they've had since all the way back to the 2015 season. So they've been on a roll at home, and knowing that has to play a factor. I mean, again, you want to win every game, but understanding what it takes to do that and understand the focus that it takes to do that, I think this team has it. Now, again, they got to come out and not play down to their opponents. You mentioned those next 2 games, the Washington Commanders, who are on a 6-game losing streak at 3-8, and of course we saw with the Raiders and how bad they looked against Cleveland. You can't come out and play down to those opponents, because then you do risk possibly losing one of those games. But the fact is, even those tough games, I feel like they're going to be really well positioned. I think they're going to play up to the Green Bay Packers. They'll understand the value of winning that game against Jacksonville, and then we'll see how they close out the season against those 2 division opponents. But I really like the way this is set up for the team, especially the way they're playing.
Yeah, no question about it. With Bo Nix, I'm not alarmed at his play this year. I'm still, maybe it's because of my old school mindset. I realize it takes time for quarterbacks to develop. Where are you at with Bo right now?
Yeah, I'm not alarmed either. There's just more consistency I think we all hoped for in year 2, but alarmed would feel extreme, right? I think more of it is just all right, try to not repeat mistakes. Let's see if we can get off to some faster starts, not make it so that it has to be a cardiac kids kind of moment there at the end every single game. And, I think they know that too. The penalties are a big deal. Sean's right. You're putting yourself in some disadvantaged situations as a result of those penalties, whether it's early in games or even late. So, I mean, even that 3rd and 15 he had to complete was because there was a holding that pinned him back. That's the kind of stuff against good teams that isn't going to always be there. You certainly have found a way to make it happen, but it isn't always going to be there. So that's something that I want to continue to see them improve on. But no, there's nothing from Bo that makes me think, okay, well, this isn't the guy. I think he's going to be just fine. But once again, you got to be on the same page with the coaching staff, and you've got to be building to his strengths, which we've seen several flashes of his strengths. So as long as you put ego aside and you can work together, I think they're going to be just fine.
You know how this works in the NFL. Sometimes you have to take advantage of the opportunity that's in front of you. I would not have thought this before the year began, but the 3 teams we thought would be the best, Baltimore, Kansas City, and Buffalo, they each have their issues. I mean, right now, if you're Denver or you're New England or you're the Colts, you got to take advantage of the opportunity now when you've got a clearer path potentially to a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, absolutely have to. And we were talking about that. I had Rod Smith on the show today, and we were talking about being greedy and understanding that these opportunities are what they are. They can be fleeting, but you can also be building something. But you can't have the mindset that this is we're early. We thought we were going to be there next year, but we'll be fine because we're building something for the future. I mean, you are, but also you can be greedy right now and recognize the moment. And especially if you can somehow get yourself into the 1 seed, know that gives you a very clear path to the Super Bowl. You only have 2 games that you got to play
at home.
So at home, exactly. Like no matter who is coming into your house, you feel like you have the advantage. And you're absolutely right. The Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bills, they've all shown to be flawed. Now, they're shown to be flawed in the regular season. We know how they perform in the postseason. All of those teams have had postseason success, especially the Kansas City Chiefs. So you can't take for granted any of it just because you're playing better than they are in the regular season. If they get into the dance, they're going to be a problem. But you like your chances being at home, at least in the first round, and maybe even beyond that, if you can continue to win.
Well, one last thing, Ryan. I don't want to hear from anybody covering the NBA this year that might have an issue voting for Jokic as MVP. The guy, he's taken his game to a different level. I didn't even know that was possible with him. He looks unbelievable.
I know, and even last year too. I mean, SGA had a phenomenal year, and not taking away anything from him, but I mean, you got to be kidding me if you're watching what Jokic is doing and somehow talking yourself out of it. But we know the voter fatigue thing is real, and there are some voters out there that didn't even want to give him this 3rd MVP, let alone give him a 4th or 5th, because then you get into the conversation of greatest all time. And it's like, listen, for what he is, for what he's doing right now, he deserves to be in that anyways, whether you decide to hold the MVP away from him or not. The fact is that he's doing all this, and now he's doing it without Aaron Gordon as well as Christian Brown. It's nothing short of phenomenal. And the only thing you do worry about, they've done a pretty good job this year of managing his minutes, because that was my biggest concern last year. Is like you didn't really have a lot of depth coming off the bench, and then you were going to get into the postseason, and they ran out of gas. You knew they were going to. So this year, that's got to be the goal. It's even with all these injuries, you got to find a way to continue to manage his minutes, because the last thing you can do is overwork him and then hope that he can just continue to run at that pace all the way to the finals. But they're positioned to at least make the Western Conference Finals, I believe, and then we'll sort of see what happens. But I mean, Oklahoma City, as you know, they're going to continue to be one of those teams that they don't take the regular season off, and they're going to have the 1 seed again, and that's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, I can't wait to see. I need another 7-gamer between OKC and Denver. And I'll say this about Jokic. I can't believe I'm going to say this, Ryan, but he is on path now to go down as one of the absolute greatest centers of all time. And before it's all said and done, he's going to be squarely in the top 10 of all-time NBA players. That's how he's playing. No joke.
I mean, it's truly remarkable. A second rounder.
A second rounder.
In fact, they drafted Nurkic, ahead of him because that was the planet. That was the long-term planet center. But I remember, and I've told you the story, I think, before. I remember talking to Tim Connolly right after they drafted him, and even though the plan at that time was Nurkic was the starting center, and you're building around that. He was like, dude, I'm telling you, this Jokic guy, he's something. I mean, he is really something. I'm like, all right, man, listen, you're a scout. You want to believe in your guys. You're the GM. Of course, you're going to, but then when we saw him play, it's like, okay, I see something there. And it's even, I mean, there's no way I had expectations even close to what he's become. And we're having conversations here in Denver very quickly about, is he in the argument for greatest Denver athlete of all time? Like that is, like he's already there. Like, John Elway, right? I mean, you say nobody would ever eclipse John Elway.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. 3 MVPs. If he gets one more championship, I think we're having that conversation.
I know, and it pains me. I can't believe you brought it up because for my life, I've always been like, look, you say what you want, but Elway is the greatest Rocky Mountain athlete ever, and no one will ever challenge. But and as much as I love Elway and as great as he is, and he is great, you're right. Jokic is challenging number 7 for the greatest Denver athlete of all time. And if you would have told me that a few years ago, I'd been like, get out of here, Ryan. That's nonsense. But it's not nonsense anymore.
It can't be. I mean, it just can't be when you're that level of dominance for that long a time. Now, if he doesn't get another championship, which isn't entirely on him, then it'll probably remain Elway. But it just feels like he's going to get back into that. They're going to make the NBA Finals again at some point. And if that is the case, I love their chances against anybody in the East.
Gosh, I love it. All right, Ryan Edwards, 850 KOA. Ryan, happy Thanksgiving, my friend. I appreciate you making time for the show. Enjoy the games this weekend, buddy, and we'll talk soon.
I appreciate you, man. Happy Thanksgiving.
There you go. Ryan Edwards. And he's right. I love Elway more than anybody. But Jokic is so good that he's challenging him for the greatest Denver athlete of all time. All right, we'll come back. And Mitch from New Jersey wants to wish me a happy Thanksgiving. So we'll bring Mitch on. And I appreciate your time today. I'm going to share a couple of text messages that came in on the Rip City Radio text line. It's been a wild and chaotic show, but fun today. Big thanks to Mike Oakes. We'll come back. We'll hear from Mitch. Hey, Travis. Hey, Chad. How are the boys? We'll hear from Mitch in New Jersey coming up next. All right, nice work by Mike Oakes. I was not expecting a little YMCA, but definitely worth celebration as we get ready for Thanksgiving. Telephone number 503-248-0620. Rip City Radio text line is 88528. Let's go out to Mitch in New Jersey. Mitch, I appreciate the call, buddy. Happy Thanksgiving. Mitch, my man.
Yeah.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving.
Point games. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. It's come around, boy. It's fast. Somebody told me life is like an hourglass. When you're young, school, it's at the top. It's all, the sand's going down slow.
Yes.
But as you get older, that sand's thinning, and it's just filling up, and days are flying.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that too. Time does tend to accelerate as you get older. That's what it feels like.
Tell me about it. But I should stay working, feeding the dogs, have more time for myself. And this medical coverage is a highway robbery.
How much do you miss the dogs? How much do you miss the dogs on your routes when you used to take treats on your delivery routes and you could feed the dogs and stuff? They probably miss you, Mitch.
I think so, big time. I visited a few, just in my neighborhood. One was on my route, but I don't venture out to my one route's kind of far from my house. The other one I pass by on the way to the gym, but a couple have gone to the Rainbow Bridge, so I can't just be popping in anymore. So time is 2 years now. Almost 2 years I've been retired. Disappointed with Lincoln Riley's preparation with the defense. The defense is like they were playing with blindfold. They were blindfolded defensive linemen. They didn't get sacked. Couldn't stop the run. Special teams play awful. Our hurdling players know the rules, and some stupid penalties.
Yeah,
all in the day, Lincoln Riley. He needs to get some assistance, not do two jobs at once when he can. If you can't do one job once, you don't want to take on two jobs.
Yeah, that was an embarrassing performance. You know, what I've noticed in the big games for Lincoln Riley at USC is that his teams get dominated at the line of scrimmage, and they were physically pushed around by Oregon. The Ducks ran the football down their throat and brought pressure on defense. And until he can, start to win at the line of scrimmage, he's going to continue to struggle in the big games like we saw this year on the road at Illinois, on the road at Notre Dame, and this time on the road at Oregon.
Yeah. The Ducks line, they got to recruit better. I think half the Ducks line is from L.A. Mateo Jungule. I knew I screwed it up. We young L.A. There you go. And
Nice
they have
work.
another guy. They have 2 first-round picks online. And they had 3 running backs. I think I might be playing NFL. They're young, too. 3 had in mind. And they were missing 2 wide receivers, starters. That's how bad their defense played. And they were still in the fourth quarter. But the defense can only do so. I mean, the offense can only do so much if the defense can't give them a rest. It was a terrible game, but they better win Saturday. I mean, can you believe they might not playing that stadium anymore? Have you been in Pasadena, the Rose Bowl?
I have been.
I bet you have.
I have.
You have been, right? They're going to leave to play at SoFi. It's ridiculous. That stadium's awful. It's all official turf, indoors, domes. But they shouldn't leave. They signed a contract anyway, and it should be renewed. It's a beautiful stadium. I've only seen it from outside.
Well, I can tell you from my firsthand experience, and happy Thanksgiving, Mitch. Always enjoy hearing your voice. I think the Rose Bowl, and I'm going to be, I realize that this is blasphemy. I think the Rose Bowl is overrated. Been there. The stadium's a dump, and the view and the sunset, spectacular. There's been a lot of great games played there, but the overall experience, not great. I would rather sit in a stadium that's, new and more modernized, and SoFi is a beautiful crib. So there you go. But why continue to sit in those old bowl-style stadiums when they got all these new cribs around, which are spectacular? That's my honest take. All right, checking the Rip City Radio text line. Oh, come on with the verification code. All right, big thanks to all of our guests today. And to you for listening. Don't forget tomorrow, Cup game. Spurs are in town. Tip-off at 7. And game day will start at 5 o'clock with Chris Burkhardt. I'll be live with the Rip City Drive at 3 from Modus Center. And then we'll get a chance to Look forward to Thanksgiving, which is going to be great. Football, food, hanging out with the fam. It's going to be fun. Big thanks to Mike Oakes for engineering the program today. I hope you guys all have a great night. Enjoy the games, and we'll talk tomorrow. Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks, Jared.
Did you get the winner?
Thoughts are with you when you travel to go see your brother.
All right. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. And you got.
That's definitely an easy one. So I'll be thinking of it.
All right, I appreciate that. And you got the winner for the Spurs game?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks for everything, and happy Thanksgiving.
You as well. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Take care.
Hello? Rip City Radio.